Well, let's think about this. Bomb Squad Lager. It speaks to rugby. Yes, it does. But the real thing is that you are scrumming life's negativity all the time. Sometimes you need to throw in a Bomb Squad to save the day. When your front row of positivity is lacking, throw in the Bomb Squad. If you're feeling a bit down and you need a bit of a pick-me-up, why not 3 burly rugby players in the form of a liquid beverage that's sparkly, like Bomb Squad, to save the day? So, think about it for a second. Do you want to live your life with fear, or live your life with beer? Bomb Squad.
What? Oh my word! How do you do that? Dude, that was so good.
Just thought I'd help out. So Bomb Squad gives you guys more life. And
That was really good. You want to live your life with fear, with beer? Immediately I was like, well, crack that I'm in! I got 4 in the fridge right now. I'm having one right now for lunch. That's incredible. I love that. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Storytime. Thank you for tuning in today. We're here with someone that we've wanted to have on for a very, very, very long time. A legend in Cape Town, a legend in South Africa. You've known him and his voice. You've known it for years. Carl Wastie. Thank you so much for coming in. The one-liner that I have for you, I wrote.
Yes.
Award-winning radio personality, MC, voiceover artist, Cape Town lover, Boston Terrier owner, and Real Madrid supporter. Cheers! Congrats, you guys had a phenomenal game this last week.
Yes, it's a very difficult thing to be everybody as supporters. It's okay for me to be here to say that it's okay. Everybody is so it's okay. Gracias.
Yeah, thank you for flying all the way in from Madrid.
Thank you, man. Oh man,
Appreciate it.
What an evening. Sure, my neighbors hate me, but it's fine.
Was next level. I saw someone post videos in Paris.
Yes.
There were people standing on like the light features of the street poles, shaking street signs, like flares. It was phenomenal.
So I was privileged enough to go watch a UEFA Champions League game at the Santiago Bernabeu, the old one, when because PSG and Real Madrid had been in the Champions League stages together. And I can tell you that I wish that football culture was in South Africa, because the thing is, they start jawling 5 hours before a game around the stadium. And so I'm thinking, like, let me get a march on here. I'm going to go a bit earlier to get a good feel of the place. So I think let me go 2 hours earlier. People were, just all due respect, but they were drunk in the streets already. You can't drink in a stadium. So what you need to do is warm up. So I'm talking about like little park areas, patches of grass, full on streets are closed off by these amazing supporters who are just getting ready for a game, and they are chanting for 5 hours before the match. Like, think about the type of voice you need to have to go
Imagine we had that for the Stormers.
But that's the thing, that's what I wished, especially for the Stormers. Can you just imagine the build up to the game? Everybody, instead of, because I think that we in Cape Town, we've got that Stormers culture where like, I wonder if you want to go have a drink. You want to have a drink? Let's go have a drink.
It's going to be nowhere to park.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, how are we going to get there? And then you go sit in your, have your latte and you're waiting for the Stormers. And I'm watching Spanish football and the way those people go crazy. And I'm telling you straight up that the ladies who support Real Madrid in Spain drink brandy. And they drink brandy, I'm going to say, to a level that I don't think a lot of us individuals, northern suburbs individuals, would be able to handle. I'm talking about, they use the cola as a color.
Okay.
It's just to accentuate the color of it.
Like the slice of lemon you put in.
Yes,
slice
just a little.
Of Coke.
They do that because it's only one can for 26 people. So they and then but honestly, I love the culture, and it was amazing. But thank you very much for the congratulations. It's going to be an incredible final.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm very excited for it.
I'm ready, man.
2 big congratulations. Congratulations on your award as radio presenter of the year. That's phenomenal.
Thanks, man.
Very, very well deserved. When we were chatting about it yesterday, obviously my family know who you are, my friends know you, and everyone knows who Carl Wastie is. And there's such a positivity to your name that follows you. And chatting to you now, it's something that I can tell is something that is important to you and something that's planned. That there's just an outward expression of love and of positivity from you. And I think that's why people resonate with you so well over radio. and at events and stuff as well. Like, you were giving us breakdown now into how you study the client and you prepare to be one with the people, and like no one talks that way and approaches gigs that way anymore. So thank you. That's dope that you do that.
Thank you for noticing that. I think that's the problem with the world, is that we live so fast, we don't slow down to actually create quality in your presence. And that's what I'm trying to do. So when you said I explained about clients, so when I do MC gigs, if I'm going to work with a company, I'd like to know the company and what you do. I'm not just going to say, hey, let's work for X company, you do insurance, let's go put on a suit and I'm going to go do your event. Like, I really want to get to know your company. I want to get to know the people in your company, what type of, even the organizational structure of your company. So I know that when we sit down and we do the awards ceremony, that I can take the piss of your entire board. And people would love that. And I think that's the thing about it, is that you have to be part of what you do all the time. I think when I look at a gig, it's not about the gig and I need to be plugged into the gig. I think you have to put a little bit of you into everything you do. And the only way you do that is to find the DNA of that gig, find your DNA, and then find where the links are, and then go into it. Otherwise, you don't have any quality in your presentation. Then it's like, ooh, Carl Wastie was at my gig. As opposed to, oh, Carl, first name, was just part of our insurance company, and he mingled, and I felt like he was part of the staff. And I want that to happen with every interaction, not only MC gigs, but when I do a radio show, when I do a TV show. I just want people to know that I'm not in this particular position to be aloof or on a platform. I'm there because I want to spend time with you, and I know that's my job, but it's actually more of a privilege and a passion for people to lend their time to you. You just have to use it responsibly, and that's why you put the work in order to make sure that you can use the time that people give you with quality. That's important. So even if I chatted to you before we did this podcast, I knew that we had to have a conversation, and I'm not going to just go like, yep, I'm a radio guy, TV guy, love Real Madrid, so no, I'm not that guy. I honestly love whenever you interact with anybody, like, just make sure that you add quality in the presence. And don't look at the phone. It's like, oh yeah. I don't like that. I think you will never know what it means to somebody to actually have that moment with them. Sometimes you meet so many people, and especially if you're in this capacity, or you're an actor and people are around you, you just have that little moment and you're thinking it's nothing. But honestly, people will remember 10 seconds before they remember your 90-minute movie. And I think it's so important to focus on that moment, as opposed to just, they know who I am, so that's why I'm here.
Just let that lead.
No, the presence is so important, man. It really is. And thank you for saying what you said about the family knowing who I am, etc., and having the positivity attached to the name. I think it's important to just actually understand that positivity is something that you choose, and I choose to provide that in everything that I do. Like, that's what I want.
How did you, because you I want to choose the words carefully, because I don't want to, you've become, in South Africa, arguably the face of radio. And not to say that to blow smoke or anything. I believe that was planned, I believe that was destined, and you are here because of this is the way that you think. How did you come across radio and wanting to be this person that is so good at it now? I know you were studying in psychology, and someone came across you, they saw you had this potential and made the offer to you. So from there, kind of going forward from there, being like, wow, now Carl Wastie's Carl Wastie. What was that journey of self-discovery to get here?
Sure. The journey into radio was very tough. I've said this in several sort of sittings around where I come from, and just to give you a nice nutshell, a brief before we get into radio and creating identity within a space that I think is popular for creating false identity. I start off with, my parents got divorced in grade 12 matric, and I had to make a plan. So I took a gap year to look after my fam. I'd worked 5-6 jobs to try and get to a point where I could get some money to study. I wanted to study psychology and organizational psychology at UCT because I saw that course in a prospectus. I also saw the fees, and that wasn't like an easy thing to see. The fees that I would never have, and these little jobs that I was working, one of them paid R7 an hour, the other one paid R8 an hour. So it is just tough to actually get those all together to scrape a salary together so I could plug it into my household. My mom wasn't working. She is, she was a housewife at the time, very traditional, no matric. Okay. So I had to step up. And my older bro, who I think is one of the hardest workers, he had to step away from the house so that there were less mouths to feed. So he had to go live with his girlfriend at the time because he was studying architecture. And he also made a plan. He used to sell lamps at markets that he made himself by hand in order to try and pay for some of the massive costs of architecture and the equipment needed for that. So I love him. And I love his work ethic as well. And he's now in Dubai living his dream, which I love.
There you go.
That's
well
amazing.
Done.
So, but still tough for me to be the breadwinner in a home, working all those jobs. And then one of them was in a video shop. And in the video shop, this is where you learn a lot about yourself, people, and even all the movies, all the movie lines, etc. Like you watch a lot of movies every day. Shoo, it's great. It's actually like it's with me now when you have a conversation with somebody and they mention a line that's similar to one that you hear in a movie, you have to hold yourself back and then be like, yes, exactly. Just, when your boss talks to you, like, so Carl, basically, they didn't handle the truth about the and what you're like, they can't handle the truth. They're like, oh, no, sorry. Yeah. Whew. So that video shop was very important for me in my gap year. And that is where somebody saw me in a video shop and gave me a bursary to study psychology and organizational psychology at UCT, because she said, how can an 18-year-old be here, not on the street doing drugs or anything? You were in this shop for like 9 hours a day. Why are you here? And I'd explained that I really wanted to study and what I was doing with my life. And she said, we need more young people who are this driven. And then she gave me a bursary so I could study. And then in that same video shop, the entertainment manager of Grand West also came to me and said, you'd be a great MC. And I'm like, I emceed my school's talent show once, and that was just like a whole lot of fun, just talking, but it wasn't really like an MC gig. It was just me just going, welcome to Pinelands High School talent show. Up next, Johnny with a voice. Up next, Emily with a cat. It wasn't really an MC gig of note, so that's why I wasn't sure what he meant. But then he actually called me over and he called it out. And the crazy thing is that I go there on a Wednesday evening. It was a popular ladies' night for the club at Grand West, which is Hanover Street. I was in Jackson Hall. He says to me, the MC didn't pitch up tonight for Hanover Street's ladies' night. Can you work tonight? Can you start tonight? I'm like, what are you talking about? Start
on
the night.
Spot.
I'm like, what do you mean start the night? So the problem was, Josh, in the video shop when I met him, the reason why I said I could be a good MC is because he asked me about videos and movies, and I gave him an accent for every movie. So basically, he was talking about Saving Private Ryan. I'm like, look here, Saving Private Ryan is a showpiece of absolute war, like crafted so beautifully that you're kind of like in the war, and it's like amazing, but at the same time, all the bombs exploding gives you enough action, enough drama to make sure you get exactly what you need. And then he was like,
that was on point. That was like respect.
And then he was like, oh, so what about this movie over here? And I think he deliberately picked out an English movie, and I was like, basically that movie is really different from most movies, because basically you need to go and listen to the first part of the movie. Then the middle is going to blow your mind, and then the end is different. So that's so cool. So basically, I had to navigate those things and entertain because the thing is, I've always been somebody who believes in adding value. So I try to add value to all of my video shop customers. And like when they were looking for something, I was like, you know what? Let's give it some love. Let me give it some sweet passion. I have to go. You want to a movie? You have to remember it is okay. You need to look at the women's eyes and say, oh, this is a very good thing. You have to enjoy your evening. You have to have a dinner. Then you put a DVD, and you put a DVD in, and the DVD plays. Oh, very good, very romantic, and then.
I'm so impressed.
So basically, like, I had to learn those things, but now he saw me, and this is why I said I'd be a good MC. Problem was, my very first MC gig, he introduced me as somebody from the UK.
No!
And he's like, well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, because he also had a great voice. I remember he had a fantastic, I think he was working at another radio station at the time, but he was the entertainment manager of that place in Grand West, Hanover Street. And I remember, all the way from the UK, please welcome Carl Wastie! And then I'm like,
no, deep end.
Don't. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the beautiful Hanover Street. My name's Carl, and let's go, ladies. first thing we're going to do is we're going to get you all tequila and we're going to play around. Let's go. And then...
And you did the whole
thing? And I had to
thing?
do the whole flipping thing in an English accent in the beginning. And I was like, yo, why did you do that to me? He's like, no, I just want to check if you can handle it. I'm like, but now people think that I'm from the UK. Like, how am I going to do this? Because like the ladies were asking on that evening, I remember, like, you know, so like, so where in the UK are you from? I'm like, well, I'm from... Now I'm thinking about the place in the UK that I know from football. I was so deep. I was like, okay, hold on.
In it now,
now
right?
I'm thinking maybe I can say Birmingham. No,
that's the first one that came to mind.
Because you know, Birmingham, they all have that sort of thing.
Yes.
So, no, you know. But I was like, I wasn't sure where I was in my accent because it would change. I went from straight up like commentator, and the ladies are coming around, it's absolutely beautiful, all the way to David Beckham. Yo, me in Victoria. We had very good thing. So that's why we eat late. I didn't know where I was. So I had to say that I'm from England, from from the just North London.
Yeah, good call.
And I was like, perfect. Did I get it? Maybe. And then I just had to respond. But
they're sort of just gonna go.
Yes, they're like, oh yes,
wow.
No, we know North London. I mean, I only knew East London, but now North London, so that's how it went. And that was my first MC gig was like that. But then I started working more often. But I started working while I was studying psychology at UCT. And actually, the working at the MC, the little stipend I earned MCing paid for a lot of the stationery stuff that I required because the bursary had covered textbooks and my tuition. And I studied and I did that, but I also still coached. I coached water polo and football at my high school as well. And I still sold UPSs at my friend's father's company. I was still working actively, but I was working on my books while I was at work in the quiet moments between like admin moments and making calls and going to coach. And I was just trying to fit everything in. And that really developed an ethic in me. But the big sort of, I'm going to call it a break, is that in my final year, I did a gig at this place in Edward Street, and it was called Jet Lag at the time. And I recall, like there was a radio station that was going to do a gig there, and I could only work for 1 hour from 9 till 10, and then the radio station took over. So while the radio station was setting up, the owner, Ruben, said to me, like, Carl, just do your thing, man. You know, I'm going to give you 3 bottles of La Potion 69, and then you can go and, you know, give it to the ladies, as you always do. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm on the bar, you know, and I stand on the bar, obviously. I would never, ever be heard anywhere else on the floor. I had to be elevated, as you know. I had to be up there, and I'm like doing my thing and making, like, you know, jokes for the ladies and getting them to sing, like, the chorus of their favorite, you know, songs and karaoke songs, etc. And I remember... And then I had to be done, and I recall this was the evening where I had to hand over to one of the big jocks at the time, and I handed over the microphone to him. He was very aloof and not really friendly, but it's okay, bless his soul. But then as I was about to walk out, then that's where another DJ, he came to me. His name is Tyrone, and he works for another radio station in Cape Town, Heart. And I remember he still worked for the first radio station, Good Hope FM, at the time, my first gig there. And I recall Tyrone comes to me now. The thing is, Tyrone has the most quintessential radio voice ever.
Like when you think radio.
Now, when you think radio, he's got that voice. So Tyrone, like, he sees me, he goes, dude. So I'm like, hey, let me come and talk to you right now. I'm like, okay, cool.
Like, is this real?
Yes, I didn't even know. I'm like, is the radio on? What the hell's going on? So he says to me, like, you know, dude, you got an amazing radio voice, dude. I'm like, thank you.
Thanks.
You do too.
Serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
So why don't you try radio? Like, I'm gonna study. Like, I'm gonna continue studying. So maybe I did my final year exam, and I think that's about time that I, you know, go on and finish my study. Well, let me give you an email address, dude. Like, okay, cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So he gives me an email address in his radio voice, and he gives me an email address, and that's it. He says, like, you gotta email this guy, tell him it is at a radio, and tell him that Tyrone said you're okay. Cool. Cheers, bro. And like, that's it. It's like, okay, cool, thank you. You have a lovely voice. So I go to work the next day.
Voice recording.
Yes, I would love to. Oh, you should have been my ringtone.
Yeah.
Ring. Shake it down. Answer call. Shake it down.
Right now.
Yeah. That's so. That would be great. I should have done that. I would have.
You should have done that. Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah. Too late now. So what I did was, in that time, I was bored at work and I got the mail address. I'm like, you know. And I remember I worked for a company called Powerline Technology, and I'm like, you know, my email address, you know, my email address is info@powerlinetechnology.co.za. It doesn't matter hi, my name's Carl, I met Tyrone, and he says I message you, and I come in for something called a voice test. Just thought I'd take the opportunity. Thanks a lot. And I was bored at work. I knew I wanted to study the next year, continue studying, but then I was like, let's try it.
Why not?
I get a mail back in record time. So it means that the program manager of Good Hope FM was by his desk when I sent that mail. Look at the universe working.
Yeah.
And then he messaged back and says, you must come in for a voice test. So I was like, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. When? Tomorrow. Okay, where are you guys based?
Fast.
209 Beach Road, Sea Point. Okay, that's it. Okay. It was fast. I was like, what the hell's going on? So then I said to my boss, like, can I have some time off tomorrow? I need to take a train to town, and obviously a taxi to Sea Point so I can get off, there, and then...
Did you tell him what it was for?
Yes.
Or were you like, I have a doctor's appointment?
No, I did tell him.
Okay.
He was very used to... This is my best friend's father. He's a great guy, and he was always supportive of me, and he always knew that I was very much I suppose he used me as his party trick sometimes for guests. Because he'd ask me to because of the video shop stuff.
Yeah.
So he enjoyed that. So he was like, so sometimes he'd have a bunch of guests there and he'd be like, go! Do an English accent. I'm like, sound a bit like a clown a little bit, understand? Fine.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Blimey.
Welcome. Here we go, And then all the guests would be like, you sound like a really, you're like an English guy. I was like, yes, that's the idea. Been doing this for too long, It's locked up. There we are. After, I'm not even getting money for this.
Just start doing that like baby reindeer monologue of like, I hate my life.
Oh man. So from there, I went to this voice test, and then I did a voice test, and the first thing this program manager tells me, tell me a joke. Tyrone says you're funny. I'm like, come on.
That's the worst.
Come on now, if you have ever been in a situation, Josh, where someone's like, tell me a joke, you're like, I'm not that guy. Like I don't do jokes. Like I do situational comedy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that type of.
It's still worse.
I'm not that guy. Like I cannot on the fly. But if I'm in a room and I pick up on things, I can drop the one-liners here and there. That's who I am.
See that? But that's talent.
Thank you.
It's like when you meet people, and they're like, Josh can do an American accent, and someone will be like, oh, do it. And you're standing like in Tiger Valley, and you're just doing the shopping, and you're like, this is not. You know that they give me the words to say, and then I kind of flow from there. Like I don't know what to say.
Say you love Emily. Here's she.
Yeah. Tell her now. And you're like, hi. Emily. Thanks.
How are you?
Ik hou jou baie lief.
So that's the thing. Well, then you have very, very intimate knowledge of what I went through in that time. But it's fine. I mean, it's who I am and who I was, and it is great. But I think that voice test itself, I couldn't tell them a joke, so I just told them my story. I told them about how hard it was, doing the jobs, juggling things, not having a social life, and I had to be honest. And then I got off the microphone, and I kind of thought I blew it, because I think they wanted to hear, ladies and gentlemen, welcome right now. My name is Carl Wastie, and like I feel like they wanted to hear the voice that I heard with the guy that gave me the email address. But no, I just said what I needed to say about my life, and then I walked out of there, and then I got a message very shortly after.
Yeah.
So this program manager says, Carl, you said you coach water polo and football. That means you know sport, right? I'm like, I know water polo, and I know football. And I watch some cricket sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the extent of my knowledge. Like that's what I do. That's all. I mean, and also maybe a bit of hockey, but also because I played that in the beginning. So that's about it. He says to me, okay, no, the reason I'm asking is because we've got a bit of a problem on the afternoon drive show. We have the sport presenters that they're not available. One is going to this, and the other one's off. So can you just stand in for the show? Now I didn't know it was the afternoon drive show. Did not know. All I knew is that I was still academic writing in my head. So if I had to write a story about anything, I'd always have to go et al. And like reference, the textbook that I got them from. Anyway, that was in my head. I had to like change the referencing and citing and all of those things. But I had to do this thing, okay? And I get there on a Monday, very early in the morning, and I'm thinking like maybe this is for another show. Maybe this is for, I don't know, like just maybe lunch or whatever. They tell me it's afternoon drive. I'm like, that's like that's off. I was like, what? So I was gonna be on Sport, afternoon drive show, from 3 till 6. The great thing is that I did meet one of my colleagues, Tracy Lang, in that first show, and that was our first show together. And I tried, and I remember my first show, Tracy says, "Oh my word, I love your energy." I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." Next day, same thing. And then I just became like a stand-in, but I was still doing all of the other things. But I went to the program manager, and I kind of had this moment where I said, it's probably not going to work out because it's just stand-ins, and there are some things that are not like connecting with my lifestyle here, and I need to have a steady salary.
Yeah.
And already I forfeited continuing studying at that time because of this journey. I didn't continue because my bursary overlapped into the next year. But I got my undergrad, and I had to pause again, do another gap year. So I say to my program manager, "This is not working. I'm going to get like another job." And he says to me, "Carl, can you wait for like 48 hours? Something's come up." I'm like, "Okay.
Thanks, it's just my life."
Yeah. But I already went for an interview for a brand that is not around anymore. I think they were a pyramid scheme.
Oh, I got pulled into one or two.
Did you? No, but this brand is like, so in the newspaper, it said they're looking for sales reps, and the basic was 20,000 rand. They would have set me off. That would have made my life easier. I could have paid rent, school fees for my younger bro. Like, everything could have been sorted. Like, that's 20K at the time. I was so excited. So I go to the interview, and I get it because the guy had heard me on radio, and I got it like almost immediately. So he looks at me and he's like, "Didn't I hear you on radio?" I'm like, yes, I was on the
like
lunchtime show with Safiso Mags the other day. Like, yeah, oh my word, that's fantastic. When can you start?
Oh,
obviously he heard that if there's somebody with a rapport, right, they would be easier to reel in, and I say to this boss of mine, program manager, "I got a good job now, and it pays 20,000 rand basic, etc. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to take that." He's like, but Carl, okay, so here's the thing. One of our DJs is moving over to KFM in the afternoon drive, and I need to create a new afternoon drive show. So we pulled a guy a very talented guy from the early hour show, and we're going to do a new team of talents, and we want you to be the sport presenter. I honestly thought I thought Ashton Kutcher was going to jump out. He's just kidding, dude. You're like, "Oh,
that was important to you?"
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. It was so funny.
Go home and cry.
This is going to be... No, it wasn't. It was not. I was going to start my career on radio at the time. A steady job. 3 to 6, 5 days a week. That was what I needed. I needed something that could be steady. That was all I was thinking about. And now it's something that I'm passionate about people, so it's got something to do with people, and I can like develop myself in this space. So I became a sport presenter, and this is where the story starts, of that building that identity. Because in the beginning, it was all about shock jocks. In the beginning, a lot of people were wanting to be the loudest in the room, and they wanted to say some very, very abrasive things in order to be memorable. And that was like the school that I grew up in terms of radio.
Like the viral of that day.
That's correct. And I didn't like that about radio. I didn't like that, "Oh my word, the breakfast show DJ said that to this person, and the breakfast show DJ was suspended for saying that, and there was a slur over here, and I can't believe he said that." There was a lot of that going on, and it was kind of like this indoctrination into, if you want to be known, you got to be abrasive, you got to be negative, you got to be somebody who doesn't mind like just literally vomiting their opinion everywhere and not caring about who it lands on. That's exactly what I grew up in, and a lot of people were trying to do that and emulate that. But in that moment, it's just that I didn't want to do that. And I remember saying that I didn't want to do that, and I remember also people telling me that, then you're not going to last long. So I'm like, well, then it's okay. Maybe there could be a time for me to prove that being positive and funny and being human-centric in my execution of what I do, maybe it'll work for me. And if they don't want it, then I know somebody will want it one day.
Sure, that's confident, eh?
Well, it's just that I didn't want to, because of what I've been through, etc. I didn't want to be unkind in those moments. Like, why do I need to be that guy? Oh my word, Carl Wastie says that Helen Ziller's an ex, and that Jacob Zuma's are that, and that sort of thing. There are smarter ways of having narratives like that, and being satirical without being abrasive. And I try to find those paths in order to do the touch point stuff, as opposed to me shouting at a listenership on a show about the price of petrol.
Yeah.
And how could this be happening? We need to stand up in the streets. And I get that you need to be passionate about those things, right? But at the same time, there's someone in their vehicle at that moment listening to you who has already had the shout from their boss, or from their significant other, or they've been through a bad breakup. And you are literally exacerbating all of the negativity in the world, as opposed to doing a different angle. Petrol prices going up. What are we going to do about it? Well, there's party at the pump as well. We're going to have a lot of cars that are going to be circling around a petrol station. Let's do a broadcast from a petrol station and play music that would be related to people just calming down in that time. And maybe we should give stuff away. So while you give all your money away to petrol, we can still give you a voucher to go eat at a restaurant. I'm just saying that using solutionist ideology as opposed to I'm going to talk about the trendy thing of the day and I'm going to look like I have an amazing opinion about it and then go from there. I don't think that's enough. I believe in solutionist ideology, especially when you have a platform like radio. If something's happening in the world, I want to make sure that I'm touching on it, talking about it, but then bringing the listener or the viewer in, as opposed to just saying, this is my opinion and you're going to have to deal with it and then move along.
It also shows that perspective requires so much more creativity and so much more wisdom into the situation, and I'm very guilty of this because I'm very emotional. So when something pisses me off, I'm very quick to just be like, well, fuck it.
Yes.
You know, which is especially now with, like you say, with the platform as well, there's times I've taken it out where I've ranted and you ranted, but there was nothing at the end that was like, but here's our solution, here's our saving grace. Josh, you didn't give any saving grace. So all you've done is upset people even more. And being negative and highlighting a situation that we all already know sucks.
Yes.
It's not a difficult thing to do. It's very easy. And that's such a cool way. That solutionist point of view is such a clever way to tackle it, yeah.
But it's also just, it's within me now. It's whenever I look at material, I know that sometimes things are very serious, but the way I would deal with it is that bring in somebody who's an expert in that field. When COVID happened, I still had to do radio. We were an essential service. Do you think I was going, locked away in your house, I know it sucks. I hated the fact that I woke up this morning and there was nobody No, I had to create radio moments with the context. And it had to be solutionist. The first thing was, radio had no purpose, especially where I was doing radio, afternoon drive. Nobody was driving in the afternoon. Breakfast radio did well because people wanted to feel the comfort of having a regular day. So what they would do normally is put on the radio. So people were still putting on the radio in the morning. But in the afternoon, people were like, I've got free time now. My kid is also at home. So how do I bring that? So something simple that I created, solutionist, is instead of just saying, I know your kids are in your hair. I actually created this thing called OGs versus Gen Zs, which is a chance for a parent to have a quiz against their kid. And so I'd ask the parent kid terms, whatever that was trendy at the time.
Yeah, like cap or whatever.
Yes, that's it. What does no cap mean?
Yeah.
And you get people, I call it that, when you're not wearing a hat?
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing.
And then you go to church and you take it off. Yeah.
And then I ask kids, so what's a ticky box?
Oh, that's a good one.
But the thing is, remember, my purpose was, how do I make myself valuable in the space? How do I add value to a context? As opposed to, I went to my boss, I said, I'm telling you now, afternoon drive numbers are going to drop here because no one's driving home anymore. People are working from home. The last thing people want is me to drive anybody home. So what am I going to do? And it's about creating these solution moments in order to be in the context of your people, which means that I'm not thinking about me in that moment. I'm thinking about my listener all the time. I think backwards all the time. When I create content for my show, my first thing is, how are you going to feel about it? When Josh listens to my show later, is he going to say, that was funny? Or is he going to say, you need to hear this? Is he going to say, I can't miss this? What are you going to say? And I literally think about all of the permutations as to what you would say in response to a piece of content, and that determines whether or not I use it.
Wow.
Because that's the thing about, I know what's going on in the world, like I do. I'm very cognizant of all the news stories, but in terms of my purpose at the moment as an afternoon drive DJ, I need to take all of those, the tension built up of the day. You've heard about the petrol price increasing, you've heard about different things and the price of this, and you have all of these things bogged down on you, and then also you also have your boss who did X, Y, and Z. There's a workload happening as well. Oh, you know what, the kid got sick at school. There's a lot going on in your day. The worst thing I can do is use that platform to rant. No. What you're going to get from me is a show that's going to be, it's going to be that like a palate cleanser, so that you can go and face your family at the end of the day and say, hey baby, it's like, what's up? You know, I had a day, but then I heard something, and that's all good. And suddenly I've just maintained that energy, so you can go home and face your family with energy, positivity, and a bit of light. That's how it was. And to finally answer the question about building this radio identity, I stopped myself from even getting engaged in that hype of being a shock jock, being a somebody that's this, being, you got to be intelligent in radio, you got to be this on radio, you got to be that on radio. Like, no, I've got to be Carl. You have to be Josh. The listener has to be themselves. That's the thing. You got to be that. And if people don't subscribe to all of the things you're about, it's okay. There's going to be somebody for them, and I really hope they find that person. But if you don't like some of my execution, you don't like my voice, you don't like the way I look, that's okay. I appreciate you for that. Because perhaps in that moment when I was trying to navigate my way through where I fit in the world of radio and TV and the entertainment industry and in my own life, I realized that the real cement of anything that you do is emotional intelligence. I think that's the whole thing, because that crafts the way you respond. It curates the way you respond in a way that will serve your purpose and your happiness. And there's too little of that at the moment. People are knee-jerking for instant gratification. They're knee-jerking for posts. They're knee-jerking. Let me find like the most horrible comment I can create here, because hopefully it'll be the most liked comment on this post. Let's just rip off the Met Gala as much as I can, and talk about those things. Let's do these. Let's look at the most negative way I can look at this, because I realize that the human condition is to subscribe to negativity and make that more memorable. But you have to think about what is the psychological scaffolding of negativity being such ingrained in our DNA, so innate in us. And it's because it evokes an emotion and a dopamine response. It's fight or flight. Cortisol is also responding in your body when you have that response. And I think if you look at that interaction of those hormones, we are always going to go after something that makes us go, I hate that. Or, I don't care, you can hate me for this. Let me see how bad you can comment on this for me. People are so obsessed with those moments.
Yeah. And there's people in the world that have benefited off of knowing that about the public on social. Someone like Jake Paul, always been like the troubled kid or whatever his catch is, has fed on that and has created this whole entire persona off of it. And it's interesting you brought up the Met Gala, because there's been a lot of posts about the Met Gala and how it's such a bad event, and it's chauvinist and it's whatever else it is.
Oblivious to the other things in the world.
Exactly.
I've seen those.
It's a very strange thing to put two completely opposing things into the same. It's just not fair. It's not fair on both sides. But what I've realized people do as well is I've started to understand why negativity comes from insecurity. In that we know online, if the Met Gala posts an image, I know the Met Gala is followed by, let's say, 40 million people. So I know if I comment, that's a cock outfit, whatever, I know people are going to see it. People get this sense of like a power kick, knowing that I couldn't be at the Met Gala because I'm not quotation special enough or famous enough. So I'm angry that I couldn't be there. But this person did get to be there. But if I comment and I share my opinion, all the other people that are angry about not ever getting the chance to be there are all going to agree with me. Look how powerful I am. So you're at the Met Gala, cool, but I got 40,000 people to hate you as much as I do. And
that's so true.
There's that power kick in like, I shared my view, I said what I wanted to, and you couldn't take it from me. And it's just because you can say anything doesn't mean you should. There's that song. There's a song by Will Smith. I was a huge I've always been a big Will Smith fan.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. When I wanted to get into acting, I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh man!
And I used to write down his dialogue from the show in a journal, and I would learn the dialogue off by heart.
That's the best story.
Right? So like in real life, I could throw Will Smith's dialogue and like see what people's response would be to me saying the things he would say. There's a song of his called Lost and Found.
Yes.
Where towards the end he breaks down the definition of what lost is, what found is, what lost is, what found is. And I used to listen to that on repeat as a kid, of just because you're famous doesn't mean you should act a certain way. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. Just because you have influence doesn't, start to understand these kinds of things. And for me to loop that around, you and I were chatting earlier, and you said it now in your answer as well, of like, you mentioned like it's not about me.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's also Carl just needs to be Carl.
Yes.
And when we were chatting earlier, we were talking about the highs and lows of life.
Yeah.
And the perceived identity that the public give you.
Oh, of course.
And those two factors for me are something that was really nice to kind of bounce off you and resonate with you. Kind of approaching that and tackling that as a public figure. Looking at the highs and lows and how you choose to deal with it. With this mindset of Carl is Carl. I just need to be me and share this positivity. How do you approach that now that you are in a different place in your life as to when you were fighting to get there?
Yes.
To be like, this is who I am. Now everyone knows who you are.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that publicly?
That particular dealing it's interesting because I'm very, very, when I say I'm very curated in what I let in. And I think that's okay because I feel like you have to be the gatekeeper of your happiness and you have to let in what you need to let in. I think that, as you mentioned with even the Met Gala, etc., people have these little understandings of what people should and shouldn't do, what celebrities should and shouldn't do. People do have that. My worst tag is to be called a celebrity. It makes no sense to me, and I'll tell you why. If a celebrity by definition has a root in the word celebrated for something, that perception, right, I said gatekeeping of happiness and that sort of thing and letting things in, people have this idea that you have to be a certain way. And I think one thing that's always just it's a thing that it interests me, and I'm not going to say I do it on purpose, but I think it's interesting to be deliberate in watching people. When I pitch up at a venue for an MC gig, even a school talk or whatever, I drive my little Mark 1 Golf. Okay, that's the first car I've ever had. I used to borrow my dad's Toyota Taz, in the beginning of the career because he was in Dubai and it used to be down here, so I used to use it when I got my license. And then whenever he came back from Dubai, he would just take the car and use it. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And then I decided to buy a car. Now, let me tell you where it started was, I'm like trying to find a car. And then once one guy, a friend, said, hey, you should go to a place. And I go to this place in Stellenbosch and it's a whole lot of Volkswagen vehicles, and I walk onto the floor and immediately somebody sees me and recognizes me from radio, okay? And just in seconds, the gentleman takes me to the most expensive VW vehicle. I think at the time, Sirocco just came out or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a Sirocco next to a Touareg,
Yeah.
and I was in that area and I was like, hi, I'm looking for an entry-level vehicle. Entry-level? Okay, let me show you. And then he shows me one of these amazing Mark Golfs. I was like, I need like an entry level vehicle.
Yeah.
He's like,
confused, eh?
Okay. So, okay, do you need this for like another car? I'm like, no, this is my car.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So he takes me to a little place and he's like, okay, so what type of car? And I'm like, well, I can only afford X amount a month. And he was so confused. And I'm like, well, that's what I budgeted for. And he's like, okay, well, we got a Mark 1 Golf, but our salespeople drive that. I think I can get that on the floor for you. Cool, that's the one. And I literally took the cheapest car on the floor.
Yeah.
And he could not understand. And then I drive this car and you go to places and people are like, Oh, is the portion out? And I'm like,
worst,
no, it's not. And that's why I did an article about it, is that just, that's the perception that people would have, is that you've got a massive disposable income and that you create this lifestyle. But I think another thing that I was very deliberate about is that I don't want people to think that you have to be a certain flash in order to be part of this community of people in this space. I think you are better serving your people when you are experiencing a lot of the things that they do in terms of the inflation prices and the price of things and school fees, etc. These are the vulnerabilities that you can't hide from your audience. And I just think navigating what people think of me versus who I am, it's like I don't need to fight to tell people who I am. I'm at the stage where if you believe that I am something, then bless you. You have your own biases and your own trauma that is creating that lens, and I can't reshape your lens for you. So I'm not going to spend time trying to justify myself for you. I'm just going to say, if that's what you believe I am, then thank you for taking the time to create
and to think about
me.
Yeah,
because that's what happens with negative comments as well. When someone gives you a negative comment, if there's a negative comment on this podcast, I implore you to just tell that person, thank you for your time. Because when someone gives you a negative comment, they have literally spent time watching, found something they don't like, commented on the post below. That's all time that they have given to you.
Yeah.
So instead of responding like, hey, don't be a boo, 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 I hate you, you are this, don't.
Yeah.
Just say, thank you for your time.
That's a cool way.
Because that's the thing about it, is that people have spent time on you.
Yeah.
They have actually thought that you are valid and valued enough for them to create a comment that's based on a piece of your content. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank them for that. And I think that's another thing how you curate your happiness, is that if somebody has time to throw negative your way, they've had time and they've given it. So honestly, be grateful for that time.
Yeah.
And with regard to building this thing in this industry and this identity, it's just that I believe that you have a purpose, man. And just unpacking celebrity again before the train came in. Celebrated people, okay, are celebrities. They are celebrated for what they do. Yeah. They have created a certain amount of popularity because many people have subscribed to what they do, and their level of popularity is very congruent to the amount of people who support them. In essence, the people who support are essentially celebrities because they put people on platforms. If they don't come to your movie, Josh, they don't watch this podcast, they don't listen to my radio show, they don't watch Espresso in the morning, they don't subscribe to anything, they don't hire me for an MC gig, right? If they don't do that, then what are we? And I need us to redefine that status, because I think that name holds power, and I think people are unfortunately wielding that power in a way that it shouldn't be wielded. Like seriously, if you are on a place and people have given you like a radio award, it's the people who have put you there. Yeah. And I think that if for you to be all stuck up in a mall, walking past people, I don't want to talk to you, or walking with your security contingent around you, I know it can get intense sometimes, and a lot of people are coming your way, and maybe perhaps you're having a bad day. But trust me, on their worst days, they've had time for you. Mm-hmm. On their worst days, they've tuned into you. They've notched up those stats so that your boss can say, this is looking good, Carl, we're going to continue the project. Yeah. So on that worst day, I know it's tough, I know it's bad, I know we're all human, but at least politely, if you can't interact and if you can't engage and show people that they are indeed a celebrity, then at least be kind in your articulation that you are tired or that you're busy or you're running off somewhere, as opposed to rejecting them with a very chin up type of attitude. So in short, I just think that it's my purpose that keeps me grounded. Like I know what I need to do. You know, as a plumber would need to fix a leak, I too have a role within this ecosystem that we are in. And my role is a bit more emotional. It's a bit more mood stabilizing, because it's about entertainment, but it's also about knowing that we live in South Africa. The socioeconomics and our situation all over the place the statistics that make us feel negative are far higher than the statistics that make us feel positive. It's my job to accentuate all of the positive statistics
Make
and
it feel bigger.
and be a facilitator and try and bring people in and just make them just feel like that, just say leak within their emotional immune system is plugged by the plumber that is me. That's why I don't see my occupation any differently from any other occupation,
job.
because
Yeah.
it's really just about what your purpose is within that framework, as
Yeah.
opposed to I've got this amazing platform, look at me, which a lot of people use that for. A lot of young people who want to be in this space would say, it looks cool, and like, you must have a lot of followers. I tell them, pick something else. Like,
Yeah.
because if you want to be in this game to be famous, then you shouldn't be in this game.
Well, especially nowadays, it's so much easier to be famous.
Of course it is.
Much easier.
That's the truth.
Like fame is, it's so much emptier than what it used to be. Like when, because you asked me earlier, I wanted to be in entertainment and in acting and in film my whole life, and the people that I used to aspire to and still do as a kid had this like mystery to them. Had this like, oh, the only time I ever see you is on a big poster in a cinema or on a giant screen.
Yes.
That's the only time I see you. So there's this huge like identity that I'm building around you.
Yeah.
And because you can't actively change that for me every day, that's just what I'm going to think. You could be the biggest durst walking earth.
Yep.
Like, I'm never going to know that.
No.
I just think you're dope because you fly planes and save the day in movies. Now, that's different. So now people have had to curate so much more of themselves and who they are to be famous and important, which is so difficult. It's so difficult to maintain that.
Yeah.
Like, perspective of someone that like, you can't hold it against them. Like, you can't hold that point of view against this person. They see you for an hour in and out of a gym, and then they see your social media.
That's correct.
That is all they see. They've never sat down and had a coffee with you, and oh wow, sometimes you can actually also be a durst, you know, like everyone can. And we talk about it often, and I said the other day as well, I'm learning it's okay for someone not to like you.
Yes.
It's okay. And it's, I feel we're so defensive nowadays because I think we've bred that into society because there's so much hate online.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's cancel phobia.
There we go.
That's one of the biggest things. And I think it's about, remember, people are tinkering their perception all the time. They're trying their best to just negotiate where they stand, but then also have to field all the commentary about what they're doing. And I think that's why it's so sensitive, why people are so defensive about who they are. The problem is younger people are also doing that, and that's what worries me, which is why a lot of my focus and a lot of the work that I do is with young people at high schools and trying to get them to focus on the screen that matters, which is the mirror.
There we go.
And it's about finding the good stuff in you. Because remember, if you are getting so much of this content to your phone, to your tablet, wherever you consume content, there's going to be some observation-based psychology that's going to filter and spill over into you that is going to start, okay, maybe I should be a bit more, maybe I should have a bit more of my cleavage out. Maybe I should be a bit more aggressive. Maybe I should have, I'm just saying that these are things that people are negotiating because of that human condition we spoke about, is that a lot of people who are number one in the timelines are those who don't subscribe to a bit more peace and positivity, which is essentially what I spoke to you about how when I started on radio, what that is going to be. So if that is the currency of this entire thing, that's where I think you have to be a bit of a rebel with your positivity.
That's cool.
You have to be a bit of a rebel with your identity.
I like that.
And when I say the rebellion now is actually perhaps the grounding within yourself.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is trying to find a thing, a place, a reaction video. And now, what about being a rebel and staying completely true?
Yeah.
And you know what? If you're worried about stats, then you shouldn't be on social media.
For sure.
If you are concerned about how much value you're adding and purpose, then by all means use the platform and enjoy it. Because remember, social media is a tool
Yeah.
that should be enabling, but not creating identity. It should be enabling your business. I feel small businesses have such great opportunities with social media. That's a brilliant opportunity there. People who are sharing a bit more about their vulnerability, or let's just say their unique ailment that they are navigating, they are offering so much solace and comfort to people who are feeling that, and just, oh my word, somebody else is like me. I love those moments where people can share with proper, and I'm going to say this very, very, just with a lot of intent, with a proper grounding in purpose. Because I know there are also a lot of people who enjoy using, I'm going to say, the platform to shed a tear, but you know, the tears with a need for attention.
Yes.
As opposed to using it in a way. So that is the currency, is that on the top of the timelines is if it's more revealing or if it's more abrasive, it's going to be all the way on the top. They're like, oh my word, did you see what that guy said about that? Remember, you talk about that before, you say, did you hear how that guy got through that? Wow, I should spread this around.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's this very vanilla feeling around that type of content.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, let's start a rebellion
I like that.
of just authenticity and positivity. Let's start a revolution of that sort of thing, and then try and change the coding of the algorithm so that you don't get the feed that's negative all the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's not naivety to feel that way. I feel strongly about things in this world, and I react to them, or I should say respond to them in a way that I feel fit. But I think that it would be very unfair, and I think we spoke about earlier about the Met Gala and the juxtaposition of the two plights of this world in terms of celebrity and what's going on. I think it's just we need to really respect our, just say our space in terms of where we want to go in terms of our intention. And I think we have to start looking at changing the algorithm to make sure that people are feeding on the good stuff first, as opposed to what we always like to share. And I think it starts with sharing good stuff, sharing. And when I say good, I'm not saying there's oblivion. We know what's going on.
For sure.
I'm not saying that it's not oblivion, but I'm just really saying that there are things in this world that can be angled a bit better. You can execute a bit better, as opposed to, this is my knee-jerk reaction. That's just me. Do you know what pisses me off? Is when people are terrible and they say, but that's just my personality.
Yeah.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because you
that's
said,
just my star sign.
No, that's just who I am. Like, I'm just like that. I'm just
it's
like
just Pisces
I'm just
season.
I'm just Mercury's in retrograde. And
Mercury's in the microwave.
Yes.
I told you. Yeah.
I get fluctuations in hormonal, just physics, or the anatomy of your body. There are things that are happening in there that are very difficult to control. I get that, right? But I think that just, why is it that you have to, be abrasive and then say, but that's just who I am? Like, I just say what's on my mind, when you know that you have a platform and a context where people are likely to have a response to that. Why are you wielding that power with such irresponsibility? Like, I think it's not really.
It's silly.
You do understand that, like, you have a choice in certain moments.
And how you choose to.
And I'm saying, like, if you harbor those authentic feelings, you don't always have to share them in the forum. And it's not going to be inauthentic if you don't. But you can read the room.
There was a quote that I read this afternoon by Jay Shetty.
Yes.
Who is phenomenal at what
yes,
he does.
He is.
My word. But beautiful man as well. Jeez, like. But
love his eyes.
Oh, gorgeous eyes.
Beautiful eyes.
Yes, like.
Just, it's like. And then he was a monk. And then he was, then he got into this particular path, and the way he uses his platforms. I mean, that's goals. But then his eyes, I know.
Oh, his eyes are gorgeous. Yeah. I lost them every time I see them. And I was like, imagine being on his podcast. I wouldn't know what to say because I'd just be staring at him the entire time. But I read a quote of his where he said it's okay to be positive one day, negative another, to be anxious one day and grateful the other day. He said your challenge isn't to be the same every day. your challenge is to learn how to manage the change of days. And I was like, damn, that's such a good way to look at it. Like, because I'd wake up and be like, I'm not really feeling this today. I need to go into what I was feeling yesterday.
Yes.
Go back to that, go back to that, go back. And all it does is cause more frustration, and that amplifies my bad mood, as opposed to going, okay, today I feel like this. I've been here before.
Yeah.
What do I know to put in place that makes my day still bearable, that I can still kind of get through it? But that's
Yes.
going to be the title of this episode with you, Carl Wastie, Rebel with Positivity.
Well, that's important. It is indeed. Come on now.
Yeah.
And what you were speaking of there is, I'm going to call it emotional homeostasis. It means that whatever comes into that emotional immune system that's negative on that particular day, your body will find a way to balance things out. And I think that maintaining that is a practice. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to, you can't take a pill for it. It's literally a practice. And like your body, and you love fitness, but you know that fitness is not about not getting tired. It's about the speed of your recovery that is actually determines whether you're fit or not.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always believed in when people talk about this industry. Like, Carl, you never make like a mistake when you're on the radio. I'm like, I make many mistakes.
Yeah.
But you don't hear my recovery.
There we go. That's cool.
But think about it. I make a lot of mistakes. On the daily, I make many mistakes. But it's about how you recover. It's about how I responded to my mistake that makes me a professional. It makes me somebody who is emotionally aware.
Who's fit at their job.
Who's fit. And I think that's where the fitness comes from,
Yeah.
in every space. But I think in order for us to create more fit human beings and rebels with positivity, it does take the practice. Like one day when a taxi cuts you off, okay, I know you want to swear, I know you want to just say like this country's going down the toilet, I hate this place, I'm going to leave, my cousin's in New Zealand, I'm going to get the immigration going, I get it, I get it. But just as a practice, like you would try a new weight on your barbell, try and not respond in that way. Try and say, this particular taxi contravened the rules. And that individual driving clearly has no consideration. It's not my purpose to teach the driver how to drive or the consequences of his actions, because that's another adult in that seat on their own path. So yes, you caused me to brake a little earlier than I expected. And it made my heart flutter and my cortisol kicked in my body, creating all sorts of fight or flight that I cannot manage right now.
Yeah.
But just in a moment, maybe just say that taxi incident didn't happen to me. It happened for me.
Yeah.
Because that will now train me to next time my boss becomes the taxi that cut me off, I'm not going to be impulsive in my response. I'm going to say, okay, I understand. Thank you. I think that sentence changed a lot of things for me, is that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. You start realizing that there's meaning in everything, even the negative stuff that happens. And I think that's where we can be a bit fitter as human beings, is knowing that and starting to practice a bit more of that kindness and that positive look at life. I'm not saying become a robot. Hey, welcome. Hey, welcome. Hey, no. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that tempering your response is not inauthentic.
Yeah.
And also knowing where to respond. If you need to go hit a boxing bag later, like by all means, you can do that if you feel that's going to assist you. But then also hit that boxing bag with purpose and know that you don't want to cause harm while hitting the boxing bag. Perhaps the cortisol struck up so much energy, fight or flight in you that you just want to release that and move on. But I just think that that's so important in our response to the world, is that things are going to constantly change. People are going to piss you off. Things are going to get really tough. And it's going to make you cry. And it's going to make you really despondent. And things are not going to work out. And all of these things, as hard as it is, they are going to happen for you. When I say that, I mean that in each of these moments, whether it be a mistake or a moment of emotional distress, they are going to teach you something so valuable. And it's going to be so difficult to understand that in the moment. And I get that. But please believe that the next moment, or the moment after that, or in the next week, or in the next month, that lesson is going to be apparent to you.
Yeah.
And if you have that
come
belief
back around.
in that moment, you are going to respond in that moment with a lot more calm and a lot more energy to serve that balance, that emotional homeostasis. But you're not going to get it right tomorrow. You have to give it a try. You have to be in a situation where somebody is pissing you off and try and change your response. Because let's just say Jason has always been that type of personality. Like if somebody talks to me, hey, I'm going to clap him immediately. That's Jason.
Yeah.
Let's have a different angle, Jason. Let's try something. Let's try something that's a bit different, that's not that impulsive. Because remember, you're going to clap somebody and probably get into an assault case that is going to last you about 3 months and, maybe, 40, 50K in law bills. But good luck for you, Jason.
Yeah, enjoy
Was
that.
Was the clap worth it? Yes,
Yeah.
because he deserved it. Why did he deserve it? It's because we are humans. We're always trying to teach each other lessons.
You should think and do it the way I would. I would never cut someone off.
You can't parent that way.
Uh-huh.
How dare you give that child that? Like, there are so many people trying to teach each other everything. And while everybody feels that's noble, and that's actually creating a bit of I'm going to create a change in the world in that way. I honestly believe that it's about reading the room in that moment. And about understanding that people have different traumas and different biases and different ways of angling their way through their lives. And I know you want to make this change in them, but there are ways to make change. There are conversations you can have that are in calm and that speak to the person's orientation and where they come from, that would actually have a better effect than you saying, don't be an idiot, I hate you, do you want to clap? Like those sorts of things. Because you know where that comes from? It comes from our upbringing. It comes from our childhood trauma. It comes from every time we did something wrong.
You got the clap.
We didn't get educated in that way. We got a clap that shaped the behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I'm saying that in that moment over there, I think that there's a lot of that to shape as adults now, is that we don't have to clap all the time. That's the thing. We don't have to respond that way, the way we respond to in order to shape our behavior. We don't. Because we have choices that we can make, and those choices are to use our energy wisely. Hopefully for positivity.
Yeah.
We don't need to be at the top of timelines in an algorithm that's never going to serve you in 100 years. Like maybe just make a little difference today in what you do, in what you say when you have a video out, when you're going to go on a live. Like those sorts of things are so important. And in navigating this industry, I honestly don't need to be the best. I just want to be the best for my listener.
There we go.
I just want to be the best for my viewer.
Yeah.
I don't need to have that, I need to be the... I honestly just want to be purposeful. And I just want to make sure that whoever is... When I'm in this role of afternoon drive presenter and espresso show host and whatever, I honestly look at that as a responsibility. And I just want to make sure that I am the guy for the job at every given time that I get to do it. Because that's all I'm there for, is that I just want to make sure that I'm serving properly. Till the day where I am not the ideal servant to my listener, and I can tell you, if there's another ideal servant for the jobs that I'm a part of right now, I will happily step aside.
Yeah.
Because if there's somebody that's going to work harder than me at this in the room, they deserve it.
Yeah.
They do. And I'll bless them with it, and I'll give them all the tools they need to start up.
Yeah.
But just, that's my focus at the moment, is that there's no obsession to be like this best so people can know my name for eternity.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I just want to be a good servant. That's it.
That's such a cool outlook. I dig that.
That's it, dude. That's all we
do
can
what
be.
you love, and the thing that you love doing ends up being for people at the end of the day.
And that's amazing.
The idea of it's not about me, it's about them. What to you has been the greatest franchise in movies?
You see, I worked in a video shop. So it's so difficult for you to start.
Because as soon as you bring up Harry Potter, my brain goes Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings, and then I go Marvel versus DC, then I go Fast and Furious, and my brain starts doing the hurdles.
Come on. I love Lord of the Rings. I do. I love The Hobbit as well. That's amazing because I resonate with the stature.
Okay, I get it.
So hold on. I would love to say The Matrix, but
good one.
But The Matrix, I think, in the beginning got, when it went to 2 and 3, as the technology started to boost, and the Wachowski sisters, in the beginning, they just wanted to be at the forefront and create this interesting loop of technology is going to do this to you, and we're going to show you a movie that's got a lot of technology and way ahead of its time, which means perhaps we are actually in the Matrix and showing you stuff that you are going to see in the future. It was genius. It was very genius, and I think the Matrix, in terms of its foundation, it's got a lot of religious connotations, like the One and Jesus, and like there's a lot of connections there. So I think it is one of the strongest franchises, the Matrix, for me. Like I love that franchise, but just in terms of personal likes, in terms of what Christopher Nolan did with the Dark Knight, and Rises, and obviously Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I love superhero movies, yes, and I know that's a DC, and I'm very much a Marvel guy, but I think the treatment of that character by Christian Bale, it was so powerful, because it didn't become about Batman's gonna save the day anymore. It became about fear.
Yeah.
And what everybody could suffer if they lose somebody. And it became about trauma. It became about, and then yes, you were seeing all the action, and that was cool, and like, oh, how'd they do that? And who's going to be the bad guy here? But like, there were so many facets to it that my psychology mind was going overdrive. From like the Dark Knight, when the Joker there wasn't anything that was particularly superhero about a Joker, other than what all of us could hold, which is a chance to create anarchy.
Yes.
That was a very sensitive thing. Think about it. It was anarchy. And anybody could create that. So I would say, franchise-wise, while I love all of the good I do Matrix, I do love you, but Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, like I love that. I love those.
This was such a great episode. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for inviting me.
This has been very special.
It's really like there was a moment there where I thought I'd never be a part of this, and then I was like, okay, rebel with positivity.
There we go.
Maybe I need to become a shock jock for Josh to notice me.
That was on me, because we tried to arrange a day last year.
Yeah, we did.
Fuck, and I kept missing the time.
Don't worry, dude. It's good.
But we made it happen.
No, we did make it happen. It's
for your enthusiasm.
It's really great, and thank you for doing this. And I think it's a great thing, offering people a chance to tell their story and the real story. We don't often get to do it while we are in active duty, so to speak, on the radio stations and the TV stations and wherever we are. But I think the stories are going to enrich a lot of what you hear. If somebody is being truly authentic about who they are and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and staying by that, put a little bit of you into everything you do, I think you understand somebody a lot better. And I think you'll be kinder to the people that you have been commenting on negatively. You start to get to know a bit more about them. So when you shout at your TV because of that rugby player, they'll give you insight into what they go through when they're doing these things. And I think these insights, they're so important, because I think they offer more information so you can make an informed response to certain things that you see from them, which is, I think it's very important. So thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much.
And honestly, like this Storytime podcast, it's fantastic. I really hope that more sponsors, come your way.
Thank you.
All sorts of sponsors, just make sure that this thing goes into a different stratosphere.
Yeah.
So if you are indeed a sponsor, it doesn't matter. We can make everything work here. If your company sells rubber duckies for bath, we will change this thing to bath time. We will make it work for you.
Yeah, we'll do like a parenting advice. Bring guests in that have kids, and they can give their parenting advice in bath time. We'll sit in a bathtub.
And then we could read stories.
There we go.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a knight named Josh. Josh wanted all the kingdom's interesting people to sit on his humble couch, which is very comfortable. A couch that I've never sat on with this type of glee before. Then, Josh decided one day that his knightly duties were not his own, but those who came onto his humble and noble couch in order to share their stories. Eventually, there was no round table. No, there was a rounded story from somebody here. So think about it. You need a knight like Josh in your life. So remember the story and have a good night. That's with a K in the front. Yes.
There we go. Look at that.
I just know it.
That's going to be my intro forever now and always. When they're like, "Hey Josh, we need you to speak at this thing," I'm going to be like, "Carl,
ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Handle Just Blame Josh. Follow him today if you want more content, and of course, he is a lion among lionesses."
There we go. Well played.
I don't know what you're talking. No, I would never. No, I didn't do any research on you.
That was well played.
Given this, I almost thought this was a kissing booth. Anyway.
I think we try to replicate. Yeah.
Yes.
Joey's gonna pop out now shortly.
That's we see it's happening. That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool. But no, seriously, thanks a lot for your time, and it's been a pleasure.